Arsenal steal in midfield, crushes Manchester United's diamond as Arteta takes full control of the wheel. Welcome to Talk Football. I'm your host with the most, Tinashe, and I am joined once again with my co-hosts. Shabs, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Nabi, how you doing?
Looking forward to toning down your nonsense.
And I don't see how you'd be able to do that based on the game. But John, joining us again for the post-match pod. How you doing?
Yeah, regretting to agree to a second instalment now.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us, mate. It happens to the best of us. So, guys, listeners, watchers, we're gonna put all the socials in the description below. So please make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe, like, comment on YouTube as well. Yeah, you'll find all our socials, including John's, down in the description. So please make sure to follow, like, and interact. So just to sort of quickly get through this, we're gonna quickly go through the predictions that we all made for the pre-match spot. So starting with the Manchester City game, the final score was 1-0 to City. Kyle Walker goal. And Nabi, you went 3-0 with Mahrez to watch. I went 4-1 City, with Fernan Torres to watch. John, you went 2-0 to City with Diaz to watch. Got the clean sheet points. And Shabs, you went 2-1 to City, with Kevin De Bruyne as your player to watch. You got the assist. Swiftly moving on to the Liverpool game. Nabi, you went 3-2 to Liverpool, with Jota, your player to watch. I went 3-2 to West Ham, with Antonio, my player to watch. Didn't quite work out. And John, you went 3-1 with Salah. Obviously, he scored. And Shabs, you went 4-1 with Mane as your player to watch, who did absolutely nothing for me in fantasy football. And going now to the Spurs Brighton game. I went 1-1 with Lamptey to watch. She got the assist. Shabs, you went 4-1 with Son to watch. Did nothing. John, you went 2-0 with Kane to watch. Won and scored the pen. Question with that actually. So will he be credited for the assist and the goal as well? Kane.
Nope.
No.
All right. Okay. Cool. And Shabs, you also went 2-0 with Kane, the player to watch. And for the Chelsea game, Nabi, you went 2-0 Chelsea with Chilwell to watch. I went 3-2 Chelsea with Pulisic to watch. Obviously, didn't play. John, you went 3-0. The correct score result, sorry, with Werner, who also scored. And Shabs, you went 3-1, close, but not quite close enough. And you had Ziyech as your player to watch. And for the United game, Shabs, you went 3-0 to Manchester United, clearly deluded, with Rashford as your player to watch. John,
It
you went,
worked as out as I wanted, to be honest.
John, you went 2-1 with Cavani as your player to watch, and I went 2-2 with Saka, my player to watch, and Nabi, you went 2-1 United with Bruno Fernandes, your player to watch, who was non-existent the whole time he was on the pitch. So
So most of the time.
Shabs, just to sort of quickly, just to kick off actually, what were your thoughts and were you surprised by anything in terms of the Liverpool lineup, the way that they were playing against West Ham at home?
So the big changes were Nat Phillips came in at centre back. So he's not in our Champions League squad, but he's in our Premier League squad. So obviously Reece Williams played in the Champions League and done well. So a lot of people expected him, but Nat Phillips came in for the Premier League game. Done very well. Has a lot of aerial ability, very strong in the air. And the other one was Curtis Jones came into the midfield three. And they didn't go for a front four like they did against Sheffield United. So Jota dropped to the bench. And it meant that it was very slow in the midfield, very cautious at the back, and we weren't creating too much. I don't think West Ham were that dangerous in the first half either, other than that Gomez mistake that led to
To the goal.
the goal. But but we weren't great ourselves. We had like one shot on target in the first half.
I would say
which
they weren't
is not what
amazing,
you
but
expect from a Liverpool side.
they were getting in the right positions. I would say, West Ham.
Yeah, they had some aerial threat and stuff, but we were defending well. Other than the fact that Gomez couldn't clear a header properly under no pressure, but neither team probably would have looked like scoring had that mistake not happened. To be honest,
Sounds
and
like the United
obviously
game.
just before halftime. Sorry.
Just saying that sounds like the United game that we'll get onto later.
Nothing like
So,
it.
up until halftime, similar to the Sheffield United game, we got a goal just as the half was about to end, which is perfect timing. The last thing you want is to go in at 1-0. It's a completely different team talk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Completely changes the mood and everything for the second half. So that was good timing from Salah to win the foul. Obvious penalty. So
how would you define win the foul?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I wouldn't say it was an obvious penalty.
Contact came and he fell, as modern players do. I don't see why there's a discussion about it when it's been like this for a while now. It's just how it works. It's
When
just modern
he's
football,
been
isn't
like
it?
this for a while, let's clarify.
No, that's just football. I wouldn't say that's purely Salah. I think that's football.
So
He just gets the brunt of it.
By he fell, you mean he dived?
Yeah.
No, he there was contact and he got hurt and
The
went
Kane
down.
penalty, there was contact, but that's not a penalty.
But he got it.
Pardon? Yeah, wrongly.
It's
That
just
that
how,
was
it's
that
just
was
how
a
football works.
that was a
No, but
wrong
I'm saying
decision
that's just
though.
how football works, isn't it? Wouldn't you say that's just how football works these days?
No, I personally wouldn't.
I would say that's just the modern game. Players go down easier than they should. How often have players gone down when you would say it's an obvious penalty, but it's still not a natural way of going down a lot of the time. A lot of the
To be
time
fair,
they
I'm
feel the
only
contact and they do go down.
I'm only sort of messing because with me before with Lacazette, I would say maybe not this year, the year before. One of the biggest frustrations amongst our Arsenal fans was that he was too honest in the penalty box. Like it's one of those, if you don't go down, the referee VAR, they're not going to look at it. They will not give you the penalty. So you
Exactly.
have
So
to go
what are
down.
players? What
Yeah,
can players do? Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's true.
How often, like when we played football, someone would stamp on our foot, we wouldn't go down,
You just
but it's
continue
still a
going.
foul. But
Yeah.
if you just continue going. But in the Premier League, you look what you're playing for. We're just playing like the game of fives or sevens or whatever,
Yeah.
or Sunday League or wherever anyone plays. But it's a completely different level. You would go down.
It's the same as what Wilson did.
Very similar,
Oh, is
actually.
it?
Yeah.
I didn't see
Yeah,
that one.
it's very similar to Wilson's penalty against Everton. And that one you can kind of
Oh,
see
okay.
a little bit as to sort of why, he says he used his head, but I was like, well, okay.
Oh, fair enough. He probably dived. Didn't he?
Yeah.
Typical Newcastle player. Anyways,
Yeah, I
so
guess you could say typical Salah as well if you're gonna drop that in there.
well,
It's
Salah
the
gets
same
the
because
stick. So why
Salah
can't we?
has the reputation for it, and
But
we
no,
all
but he
know
gets the
that he
stick,
does
doesn't
do
he?
it.
How often do others get stick? Like Mane, he dives half the time. We all know it, but still love him, don't we? Mane is just as bad as Salah if you think about it.
Mm.
I wouldn't say Mane is any better than
Now, to be
Salah.
fair, yeah, let's
Honest.
just he's not an angel, but when it comes to
No,
this whole
Mane
diving
is
thing,
100% just as bad, and I'm saying this as a Liverpool fan. But yeah, Salah gets all the stick.
yeah.
But you can't hate Mane. You just can't. But anyways, so yeah, first half was pretty poor. It's not. I don't know how concerning it is yet, but I don't know how much we can just carry on grinding out results, which is what we're doing at the moment. Which is amazing to do because obviously we lost a lot of players. People say we get lucky with injuries and things like that, but we have lost some big names over the last couple of months. Come back again and positive COVID tests, things like that. Big injuries. We've got ourselves to top of the league still, which is decent. But yeah, second half, Shaqiri and Jota came on, and that basically changed the game. And we looked a lot more threatening going forward. Jota scored a goal that was disallowed. I wasn't so sure on it, but it looks like VAR gave the foul from Mane on the defender, who was Ogbonna, I believe. So
That was the
maybe it was
keeper.
fair enough. No, I think the VAR actually gave it for the foul on Ogbonna, not the keeper. Which I guess is fair enough, but I still feel like it could have easily been a goal. It's one of those where if you gave a goal, I don't think you could argue too much either, really. It didn't look huge amounts in it. It's just all three kind of collided, I felt. And then I thought, oh, maybe we won't get this goal now. That was a kind of big chance gone. But then, amazing pass by Shaqiri. People should rave about it a bit more than they do. Maybe because Liverpool do these kind of things too often, but
Right
great
now we
pass
know
through
that
the legs.
you're just chatting nonsense. Liverpool do not do this. well, you
I'm just thinking,
this is not
there's
typically
not
how
enough
Liverpool
talk
create.
about how good that pass was.
No,
There's
no,
just not enough
fair.
talk
I'm
about
not
it.
disputing that.
Perfectly weighted.
I'm not. The only thing I'm disputing is this whole the statement after where you're like, well, because Liverpool did this on a regular basis. No, they don't. They don't. Um, but anyway, yeah, because the way
Come
you
up with
guys
special moments, don't
create
we? But
no,
you know,
some of your players do, but the way you generally create chances, it's not by sort of slicing teams open. It's your fullbacks
it's the
generally.
fullbacks and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
that's where I was
Or
just
like Mane
saying.
and Salah doing something
I'm not
special, that
denying
kind
the
of stuff.
pass at all. I'm not denying it. So I'm just saying the statement after you said it was a great pass. That's where I'm like, no, no, no. Um,
But yeah, so that's what changed the game for us. But I felt like we were short defensively, and it felt like Klopp was being a bit more cautious with his midfield. It's not as attacking as it once was. Normally, you just leave Gomez and Van Dijk one on one
yeah,
with whoever the front two are for the other team, and you'd let the rest of them just do what they need to do to go forward, and you'd have a couple of workman-like midfielders, just good passers like Henderson, Wijnaldum, and stuff. And then you had Curtis Jones, who's a bit more creative, but obviously he's still young. He's still learning. I thought he played a decent game in midfield. But yeah, overall happy with it. Another result we've grinded out. Typical champion mentality, I would say, as Liverpool are. So last year, I think we won 14 games by one goal, like one goal difference, and
yeah. A
hopefully
lot of them
you
were
don't want it to be like
weren't that.
that. You want like 3-4 nils, but
That's never gonna
we
happen
seem
the
to be able
whole
to grind
season.
out results.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we seem to be able to grind out zones. Seem to just be able to keep going. I don't know if it's just a mentality they built amongst themselves, but they just keep going at what they're doing, and they just feel it seems like they have that confidence that we'll just keep doing what we do, and at some point during the 90 minutes we'll create a chance to win the game. And the last two games they've ground out results, and yeah, all rosy. Top of the league. Newcastle then beat Everton and kept us top.
is it all rosy or are you just saying that
It's rosy as it could be, based on the fact that we've had so
the
many
current
troubles
circumstances?
defensively. We've lost Thiago to the positive COVID test and then to an injury. Mane as well had a positive COVID test, so we had lost him for a couple of games. Allison obviously was injured for a bit, so we had Adrian in goal. Um, and even with all that, we've been able to get ourselves to the top, which is important. And we're still doing fine in Europe as well. So we got ourselves to a position where, with everything that's going on, I think it is pretty decent. And on top of that, we've had that 7-2 thrashing by Villa, where everyone started to question what Liverpool are made of and have we got the mentality to push for another title challenge. And obviously, you can't say too much on that yet because it's 7 games in. But we're showing signs that we've kind of recovered from that loss and we're getting back into our groove.
Yeah, but I suppose this is sorry, Nabi, this is probably sort of similar with what everyone. Still, for me, I still think you're still to see the effects of losing Van Dijk, because obviously it was it like two games in after a game after the game. So not that I'm saying that you're gonna lose every single match because you don't have Van Dijk, but you will win some, but there will be some that you will lose. Because like you
Of
said,
course, but I
um,
don't see.
like you were saying with the Joe Gomez that he made an error for the clearance, that kind of thing that will happen. a lot more, especially considering their age. That's kind of the same thing, I guess. I know we're not talking about it yet, but with Gabriel, he's a very front-footed forward that who likes to get a tackle in, centre back, sorry, who likes to get a tackle in, even in the box. He makes some good, even the one on Matic. But my kind of feeling is there is going to be a time where that goes wrong, where he's half a second
Yeah.
off, and that's a penalty, whereas half a second off, or it's a red card or whatever. So that's the kind of thing. Yeah, I would just sort of try and temper that with the whole your centre back. Like they done well against West Ham, yes, I'm not disputing that, but I guess it's just expect that it probably is going to get a lot worse for Liverpool in terms of their centre backs before. I never asked you this before actually. Do you
It'll get
think
worse because
it might be a bit of an exaggeration, but sorry, I do keep in mind that Naby still has a point. Do you think Van Dijk is done?
I wouldn't want to call it so soon. I think based on a lot of what's happened in the past with other players' injuries and things, a lot of people say obviously once you've had an ACL injury like that, you definitely won't come back as you were, but what level he'll come back at, we can't say, and I don't think it's worth talking about when the fact that by the time he's back, it'll probably be next season. So I think it's just one of those.
But
I think we'd definitely sign someone
by the time he's back, it
either
will be
way.
next season. But by the time, because this is the thing with Arsenal, 18 months ago, coming up 2 years now, Hector Bellerin ruptured his Achilles, not Achilles, did his knee cruciate ligament, the same as Van Dijk. But unlike with, I suppose, yeah, with Hector, it was completely by himself. But we're only starting to see him getting back to his normal now. So even if
For a
he does
centre
come
back,
back,
Van Dijk's what 20, 29?
yeah,
He'll come back at 30. Even then, like even if he's like 5-10, I don't know how
well,
be of
I
his
would say
best. He's
five
still
percent
one of the
off
best in the world.
in the league. That's a huge drop off. Five
But in
percent.
comparison to the fact that he's the best defender in the world, it's still good enough for games, and a lot of games, if you think about it.
I'm not too sure.
So
But anyway, like I just wanted to see your view on it.
a 5% drop off from Van Dijk is still better than most defenders in the league.
It will be, but
To be
then it's not
honest,
about most defenders. It will now be about the attackers he's facing, because he's not going to be facing other defenders, will he? It will be about the attackers that he's facing now. Whether he can now still keep up with the attackers, or whether that 5%. Because you need to think the attackers probably some of the quickest players on the pitch, and you're talking about someone who's dropped 5%, say, in his pace. You will visibly see the difference in that, because with Bellerin we can see Bellerin is not as fast as he was before his injury, and you can clearly see it now, and he's what, 25,
but he's a
26.
right back. He's a right back.
Mhm.
It's a completely different position.
No,
As centre back,
I'm
we've
just
had
talking
some
about the
of our best centre
qualities.
backs who are really slow.
Pardon?
Some of our best centre backs have been really slow, so it's just adjusting his game and
But
things.
you're
And
talking.
a
I'm
world
talking
class player like Van Dijk should be able to adjust his game.
specifically Van Dijk, not your other centre backs. Van Dijk is fast. He's not a slow defender. But
No,
Yeah,
but my
I think
point is, if his pace reduces, it's about adjusting your game where you position yourself to take into the factor that you can't keep up with an attacker and stuff. So you can't just say, "Oh, he's lost his pace, so that's it. Van Dijk's done." I'm sure. I have the confidence that he's such a good player that he can be like, okay, so that 5% I've lost in pace or 10% I've lost in pace, I'll adjust my positioning to be able to counteract that loss of pace. And that's what you got to hope,
him
and that's what you
adjusting
have
his
to
positioning,
think.
that would now impact the whole back line, because you need to remember Liverpool as a team play a really high line, and if you've now got a player who's not as fast as
Well,
you need
we've
him to
dropped our
be,
line anyways.
as fast as you need, yeah, but this is the point that I'm now making, that you haven't seen the effects of that yet, because it's only been 2 games. You will start to see teams now will have more of the possession, because you're not suffocating them in their own half as much as you were before, because you literally, your two centre backs will stand at the halfway line and all your other players will press. Even dropping off 5-10, we saw the difference that it made in your play last season when you pushed up 10 yards to play on the halfway line. So you will also see the impact when you drop off back to compensate for that loss of pace. But sorry, quickly go to Nabi and then go to John, because I think John wants to say something as well.
Well, I also wanted to just say something on this point that you brought up. I was just going to say, by the time Van Dijk comes back, do you not expect Liverpool to have got themselves into a solution of not needing Van Dijk, or by the time he comes back, do you still expect them to be covering for him not being there when he comes back?
My personal, yeah, I think I do expect them to have got themselves in a situation where they don't need Van Dijk, where it's like, okay, cool,
I think you have
you
to.
can
I
come
think
in
it's too much of a risk to not.
yeah. Sorry, Shabs, I'll
I
let
was
you.
just
But
going to say,
that doesn't mean he can't come back and play. It just means why should we not take why should we take the risk to think he'll come back exactly how he is? We all know the situation.
Yeah.
Liverpool understand the situation. He's ruptured his ACL, so they're not going to think it's a miracle he's going to come back to 100% best. They've got to take that into account and factor in. And if there's an opportunity that comes in, because they've talked about David Alaba, because he's not signed a new contract with Bayern. So it's something that he plays on the left side of centre back,
Get
the left
Agent
centre back
Thiago
position.
to
So he might come in.
start chatting to him.
Exactly, Upamecano, he plays on the left side of defence. He's
Yeah.
very young. So like there'll be options, and we will look at it. I don't think Liverpool are silly enough to not look at the option, but that also doesn't mean that Van Dijk can't come back and play.
Mhm. Yeah, I for me, I wasn't saying he's no. Yeah, I suppose the way I worded the question, but yeah, because Hector Bellerin's back and he's playing. But John, sorry, you had a point to make.
No, it was just when we were talking about if he was going to lose a yard pace and stuff, and his athleticism. That I guess what I was going to say was I think what makes him so good is
His
his athleticism
Yeah.
as a centre back.
Yeah.
Because all the chat has been, look, this guy, you can't get past him. I don't think that's because of his position. I think that's just because he's so quick, so powerful.
Yeah.
So if he loses some of that with this injury, then I think it may have a bigger impact than what you might think. Just my point of view, but
Yeah, I
we'll just have
completely.
to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I do agree. That's why I was sort of saying that, even 5%, that's a huge amount for someone as I guess probably worded a lot better, as athletic
But what
as he is.
I would also say to that is his athleticism makes it look like he's using that as like some sort of recovery method. I would say if you look at Gomez, you can tell that he purely relies on his speed to cover his ground. Whereas you can see that Van Dijk does it quite differently, where he's always in the right position. There's the occasional moment where he would use his pace to get ahead, but he always keeps himself in a very good position. Hence why he hardly ever goes to ground and stuff. And yes, athleticism helps in that part, but I feel like his athleticism is so good that it also kind of makes people think that that's
Ruptured
purely the
accretion
reason he does
ligament,
well.
mate. It will take away that athletic. No matter how good your athleticism is, you will suffer.
No, but that's not the point I'm making.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying the reason his athleticism has been so good is people focus so much on that people forget his positioning is also very good.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
you can look at it both ways.
yeah, that is true. But I guess with John, I'm with John in that sense. Like, I guess we'll wait and see. But I do think that this is going to have a bigger impact than you think. Because like I'm saying, I'm using Hector Bellerin as a perfect example. Rob Holding is another one who suffered. That's what I was saying to you. I think there's a pod where I've mentioned that we've had 2 cruciate ligament injuries within a period of 1 year. Yeah, so anyway, I guess speaking of Rob Holding, that's a perfect segue. Actually, before we go, I'm not sure if anyone wanted to sort of say anything or have anything else
yeah, I'm
to
not
add.
ready to segue.
Sorry?
Is it a case of Jota and Firmino out?
Necessarily, because Firmino still has a lot to offer outside of scoring goals. I think the fact that he doesn't score goals puts a lot of pressure on the Mane and Salah to get all our goals. Whereas Jota can come in and actually be a third threat, which is what we need. But I would like to see Firmino drop into the 10, play a bit deeper, and put Jota as part of the front three. That's what I would like to see, keep him in.
So you don't think their team against Atlanta is anything to go by?
I know the team news is out, but I've not looked at it yet.
It looks the same as Saturday, except Jota and Firmino out.
But we do have City on the weekend.
But why rest one player for City?
Well, it's just rotation. It's just I don't see
But
what the issue
there's
is.
one player rotation.
Yeah,
Firmino.
yeah.
Maybe he just needs
I
a
see
rest.
Naby's point. I see Naby's point. To be
No,
honest,
but it just could be a player that needs a rest.
but
Simple as
his
that.
role, it's not like he exerts a huge amount of energy that you'd be like, "What? We need to rest him before."
He does. He's
before-
one of the main workers in our team. He's one of the hardest workers in our team. I'm sure statistically, I haven't got them up, but I'm sure
Yeah, I was gonna say
statistically he runs
need
like
to
the
look at
most.
need to look at the numbers for that in terms of ground covered, etc. But yeah,
He covers a lot of ground. But what I would say is, I wouldn't be surprised to see him start against City.
fair.
But then the thing with that is, if you're saying you play those four, Thiago's going to come into that team, right? But for me, does he fit into a 2?
Yeah,
Because I feel like
Fabinho
he'd be
would be
better
a
in a
good
3.
I think him and Fabinho could be a good
But
two.
how long is Fabinho out for?
A couple of weeks.
All
I
right,
think
okay.
2 or 3 weeks maybe. I think
Do
we
you-
can make it work, but we have the squad. It's a good problem to have, isn't it? You know what I mean? Even if Firmino comes off the bench, he can still have an impact. If Jota's coming off the bench, he can have an impact. If Shaqiri's coming off the bench, Thiago's still to come
I'm
back
not sure
in.
what impact
Fabinho
you'd
still to
expect
come back in.
Firmino to have because he doesn't score. So anyway,
Well, that's someone who's just looking at the scoring stats, but
yeah,
that's
for
fine.
number 9.
That's what you do for a striker. Isn't it?
Yeah,
Our strikers
we've
are
had this
Mane and
discussion.
Salah.
We're not going to go
We
back
all know.
into
We
it.
all
We're not going to get
no,
back
but
into it.
everyone knows what Firmino does for Liverpool.
Let's
I don't
move on
see why.
to the next
Yeah.
game. We'll look at we've spent enough for Liverpool. Yeah, I guess looking at the meat and bones, if you will, of the pod today. I'll ask. I guess starting with you, John. What were your thoughts and views? Is first of all, actually, what we'll start with the lineup. Was there anything that you would have done differently? Obviously, not looking at it with hindsight, sort of before the game. Is when you saw the lineup, was that like, okay, cool, I'm happy with that, or I'm not sure?
Yeah, the question was whether whether we played 4-2-3-1 or whether we played the diamond. Obviously, we went with the diamond. We had Fred in the kind of deep line pivot position, McTominay on the right side, Pogba on the left, Bruno up the top of the diamond, and then we had Greenwood and Rashford up top, same back four. On paper, I didn't hate it. Yeah, it's a difficult one because it's hard not to look at it in hindsight, given how the game played out. But
Yeah,
when it first came out, I didn't hate the lineup. I could totally see why we went with the diamond, given the success that we'd had with it. I guess the thing was that it was a different lineup in there to what we played against Leipzig, for example. So the potential was a bit of a risk there. I guess the other thing was having McTominay on that right side and Fred sitting. Potentially, you're losing a bit of the threat on that right side because what happened was McTominay tended to fall further back in, as I'm sure he's probably done in that too more often, and we kind of lost that outlet on the right hand side. But if you're asking me before the game whether I was questioning it, probably not. But pretty early in to the game, it was obvious that it wasn't working. And we only ended up changing it at half time, which again you probably need to argue that we probably should have done something earlier in the game. We obviously went to a 4-2-3-1 at half time, but I think we should have identified the fact that it wasn't working earlier on, and we didn't, and we kind of let Arsenal get that foothold in the game, whereas we probably should have changed things a bit quicker.
I mean, this let Arsenal notion, I disagree with. But Nabi,
Well, there was a suggestion put out beforehand that United should play Rashford from the bench since he's been getting his goals later on in games anyway, and having him running at tired defenders can make him more effective. So I like that idea. So, but with Martial not being able to play, they probably couldn't have gone down that route. But apart from that, didn't look any issues with the starting 11.
No, okay, fair enough.
I think this notion that Arsenal were magnificent in playing us off the park, I think is a little bit off the mark.
It's not a
I
little
can
bit off the
see
mark. It's
I,
completely off the mark.
I can see why you've struggled for goals this season, because as much as you nullified our threat, I wasn't overly worried about what was coming at us. I know you had a couple of chances, but when you look at them, they all came from individual errors that were forced upon us in our own half, rather than any creativity from someone in the Arsenal team. So the one where Willian hit the bar, that was Lindelof losing the ball on the left-hand side of our box when he got crowded out by, I think, 3-4 players.
This is where I
The
guess
one where
I would challenge you in that sense that Arteta changed his game plan for this game, because I mentioned in the last pod we've been a low block, sitting back quite a lot, and then engaging in the press a lot deeper into our half. This game we engaged the press in our final third. Essentially, the moment the ball got out to your defenders, we started pressing. Where we haven't been doing that. That we haven't been doing that at all. And even if you look at the positioning of our centre backs, a lot, pretty much on the halfway line, we haven't been doing that a lot this season. That's why I guess with I guess some of the Arsenal fans, in myself included, I do agree. Saying we played you off the park, yeah, that is exaggerated, but we did play really well in that game. That is one thing I would
Yeah,
say in the sense that
but
Arteta, like, sorry,
yeah, he played well, but you didn't look more of an attacking threat.
we were more threatening than you. I would say, because like literally, I mentioned to you, if you go on Sky Sports, that the highlights, they show the best bits of the game, right? 3 minute clip. There is three clips of Manchester United, and literally 10 seconds you could fit those three clips in, right? And it was the Mason Greenwood shot that only came about because Rashford took the free kick really quickly, managed to play Greenwood in. Normally, in the position that he was playing, if he tried to do that, Gabriel would have kicked him off the park. And then there was a set piece, Maguire, the header, and then what's his name? Your Matic's shot. Those were the three clips that were played. So
What
I
about
do agree.
Leno's face?
Pardon?
What about Leno's face onto the post?
Oh, sorry. So that was the one that was played. It wasn't even Matic's one. Matic's one wasn't played. But I guess we'll add that in anyway. Four, right? But with I guess Arsenal's chances, there were a lot. Yes, they weren't clear cut. Um, I guess chances. I'll be, but in terms of the better chances, they did fall to Arsenal. Because even if you look at the angle where Greenwood takes a shot, it's a really tight angle. He gets it on target. He does well to get it on target. But apparently that is part of his game, that he's really efficient with his shots. So I guess with that, it's almost expected for him to get it on
Yeah, or
target.
better chances, but they weren't goal scoring chances.
Saka's one was a goal scoring chance, and Williams was his goal scoring chance.
But they didn't go down as clear cut chances. Clear cut chances was 0-0, 0-0 in the stats.
If that's the case, fair enough. But looking at that, I would say probably more so Saka's than Williams, based on the fact that he was on his weaker foot. It was a better. I guess the best way to look at it, XG, right? Arsenal's XG on the game was better than United. I think Arsenal's was.
But you had a penalty though, so a lot of that's a penalty.
No, that is true. That is true. But sorry. Yeah, just looking at the United one, XG is 0.37 playing at home, and Arsenal's one was 1.03. I do take the what John's saying, that the fact that it was a penalty, but then at the same time you kind of need to get into those positions. You kind of need to be attacking. You kind of need to be threatening to be able to get a penalty.
Weren't threatening. I'll take the others, but you weren't threatening.
But this is the thing: we're doing a comparison between the two. Arsenal were more threatening than Manchester United. I'm not just saying we were more threatening a lot by X amount. I'm just saying compared to Manchester United, Arsenal were more threatening out of the two.
Yeah, they're more threatening, but they
Yeah,
didn't look like scoring.
I would say that they did look like scoring because
John, do you not think
if
without that penalty, it's a nailed on 0-0?
I wouldn't say it's a nil on nil nil no.
He
One
made
thing
De Gea making
I would
one
also say
save. One save.
same with Leno. Same because
Exactly.
the
So
thing
no
is
one looked like
for
scoring.
an away team, right? I'm not too fussed whether he had one save or two saves or whatever. That doesn't bother me too much, right? Um, the impotence was on you guys to be peppering our goal, to have Leno make 5, 6, 7, 8. But none of that happened. And this is the reason why I'm saying Arsenal fans are feeling and saying that Arsenal played well, is because we stopped you from doing that. Not This is why I'm kind of not agreeing with. If you literally tune into any radio station, most of the pundits, even on Sky, they're all talking about how bad United were. But rewatch the game today. If you watch the game again, El Neni was essentially man marking Bruno Fernandes. Paul Pogba was man marked by Thomas Partey and played them out the pitch. Even now, if you look at your forwards, non-existent. Why? Because Rashford is more or less kicked out the game by Gabriel. So in terms of the attacking sense, I do concede a lot of what you're saying, that we weren't all of that. But in terms of defensively, I think this is where a lot of people are not giving Arsenal enough credit, and they're saying, "Oh, it was a lot to do with how bad United were." But this, yeah, for me personally, I would say we made United look bad because of the last 3, 4 fixtures that you've just had, um, especially after the 5-0, to then come home and say essentially was it drawing blanks and however many shots we had on target. Yeah, I wouldn't say that just happened by chance or United were just. Arteta came with a game plan and he executed it and it worked well. What John was saying, I do agree with the fact that all they should have identified that, okay, this isn't working, we need to change this. I go back to Lampard. He did something similar when he came to the Emirates, and then he ended up taking Emerson off and he put Jorginho on. Completely changed the game for Chelsea. And this was like the 25th minute or something like that, and completely changed the game for Chelsea. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
thought he got his subs decisions wrong as well. But going back to what you're saying about like giving Arsenal credit, like I totally give Arsenal credit. I thought they totally executed their game plan perfectly. But this is a problem that we've had for a long time now, where teams that are well set up, we struggle to break them down. If you look at the two results we've had, PSG and Leipzig, they are really open teams, attacking teams. They were there to be got at. This game, we weren't afforded that, and we just had no plan B as to how to break that down. I think that was really evident from the first 5-10 minutes, and we never made the changes quick enough. I thought we grew into it a bit in the second half, but we still never threatened really that much. Really, Bruno was anonymous. Pogba was absolutely shocking. The amount of times he gave the ball away, I thought was just, and he stayed on the park till the end. I just thought it was
yeah,
crazy.
I didn't get that either, to be fair.
I didn't get. I think he's played on the left side before. I think he played there with Juventus, but I don't see him working there. If you look at all the all the good attacks that Arsenal had as well, they all came down their right hand side because they knew Pogba was indisciplined and that he was the one to get at on his side with Shaw. They all came there with either underlaps or overlaps with
This is where
Bellerin and Willian.
at least during the game, I would have expected him to swap McTominay and Pogba. Because, like you said, we can see that, wait, all the attacks are going down that side. Surely, Ole can see it as well. That all the attacks are coming down Pogba's side. So just swap the two. And then, obviously, you've got McTominay, who does track back a lot more and is a lot more disciplined than Paul Pogba. But yeah, I do agree with you in that sense that, yeah, I'm not sure how he managed to stay on for as long as he did. Um,
And then he obviously makes the terrible decision that he does to give away the penalty, which was just so poor. Like Bellingham's running away from goal. He just
Yeah.
loses sight of him, and he knows he's in the box, and he still puts a leg out, and it's so poor.
Did you
So
hear?
poor.
Did you hear that he said that he was out of breath?
Yeah,
Did,
I
did
saw
you
that.
not did you not watch the interview?
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
saying that he was out of breath.
Yeah. What do you guys make of that? I do have a little bit of sympathy for him for that, because at least, yes, not that I'm saying it's acceptable, but at least he's offering an explanation as to why that happened. But obviously
Yeah,
that's
but
the
it's not
second
like,
time it's happened now, so
yeah, that's what
it's
I'm going to
like,
say. This isn't an isolated incident. Like
yeah.
before, he gave the penalty away against Newcastle, like I don't know, a season or 2 seasons ago. He gave away a penalty with just having his hand in the air for no reason. He's done. He does this too much, just giving away
And the
box
Tottenham
penalties.
game as well, the one where he just sort of slid in and just kept sliding and took the.
Yeah,
But with this one, yeah, I do agree. It almost, like, it's weird when you watch the play, you see him looking at Bellerin, and then he looks away. But then when he turns back, it's almost like that's when it's like, oh snap, he's gone. And it's almost just like a panic. Essentially, that's the only way I can sort of put it. Like, he's realized that, oh no, Bellerin's gotten away from me. The only way I can try and compensate now is try and stick a foot in. But
Yeah, it's just so poor. It's just so
I think
poor.
our issue came. No, sorry, John, on you go.
No, I was going to go off on another rant about Pogba. So you go, Naby.
I was just going to think our issue came with Scott and Fred. I think I brought this up before. Their passing is just atrocious. Their forward passing. I think that's why I think Ollie made the first sub. His first sub was Matic for Fred, because Fred's passing was so bad he had to make that move. That's where Bruno and Pogba were marked out the game, but if they couldn't get the ball anyway, it didn't matter. They couldn't get the ball because Fred's and Scott's passing was poor. I know you're going to say they were made to look poor by Partey and Elneny, and there is truth to that. But just in general, anyway, their passing
yeah, to
is
be fair
really
with that,
poor,
you have
which
mentioned
kind of
this
holds us
before.
back.
I thought
Yeah.
Lacazette played well as well. I thought he did a really good job. He's kind of stuck on Fred because Fred was he was showing to the defence. He was almost dropping into like a back five at times to pick up the ball, but Lacazette was always kind
Yeah.
of picking out the passing lane for him, making it difficult.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, on you, Goja.
no, I just thought he did a good job, but I agree with Naby that I was saying last week that with those two in, we've looked a lot more stable. But in a game like that, where you've got a team that it was pretty obvious for a while that creatively they're not going to hurt you. They're going to hurt you by making you make a mistake, and we probably needed someone else in there who had that range of passing. So as you say, I think that's why he brought Matic on. But it was pretty late in the game by that point. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was tough one. It was tough for them to get going. They were kind of Arsenal were doing a really good job of blocking those passing lanes for them to use. And as you say, their distribution isn't the best as it is, so it just didn't work.
I do agree with that, because upon watching it again, it does appear that there is a sort of effort. I guess probably would have been training on it for Lacazette to press on Fred, Aubameyang to cut off the lanes out wide, and Willian to do the opposite on the other side and literally play down the middle. In which that's when Thomas Partey and El Neni would then pounce on your players that are better on the ball in Pogba and Bruno. So yeah, it does look like, for me, this was more, I would say, a tactical win than it was more sort of Arsenal really outplaying United, you know, in terms of Naby sent them through, and I guess for me rewatching the game as well kind of put things a little into perspective. When you look at the stats, the match stats, generally they are pretty close. There isn't much to separate the two, to be honest. So yeah, that's why for me I kind of ended up realizing that was more a tactical win then I would say Arsenal sort of being absolutely phenomenal. Because if we were neutrals watching this game, that would have been an absolutely boring game. But obviously the fact that
Yeah.
we both had,
Yeah,
we're
tell
we're
me about it.
we're all invested in this. But yeah, I guess Shabs, just to a couple of things just I wanted to point out that I found interesting. Obviously, United had 4 players in the midfield. Went on whoscored.com, just looking at the stats, and was it out of all 4 of United's midfielders, they had 233 touches on the ball, and Arsenal's 3, including Bakayo Saka, was 220 touches, so about 13 touches difference, which yeah, it's not a lot considering. Um, and also the fact that we technically when defending had a 2-man midfield and we still managed to dominate your 4-man. Obviously, I know it's not as simple as saying, oh, you had a 4-man midfield and 2-man midfield, but I guess looking at it on paper, yeah, Shabs, what are your sort of thoughts and takes on this game?
Yeah, first of all, it was a very boring game, similar to United versus Chelsea. It's just this one included a Paul Pogba error, which the other one didn't. Yeah, I would say overall, Arteta won the tactical battle, so you got to give him credit for that. Ollie didn't change things quickly enough, as you guys were saying, and Ollie does seem to go round in circles, and I'm not sure what you. I don't want to talk Ollie out, but I'm not sure what your guys' thoughts are on that. Was his 100th game? Was it 100th game or overall, or 100th Premier League game?
Overall.
100th game overall, right?
Yeah, overall.
I don't think from where he started to where he is now, there's been much progress. I know he had to clean out all the dead wood, like players like Alex Sanchez, the wage bill, all these kind of things, and become the yes man and the one that everyone loves. And it was needed, like it was required for United at that point in time when he came in as a stopgap. But I don't feel like, I think it's just going round in circles. Like you get those 2 big wins against PSG and RB Leipzig, look impressive, but in his 100 games, he's always done that. Like he's come up against the bigger teams where he's been able to counter, use the space and stuff, and his players been able to do a job. But it just, and then it's always followed up with these horrible performances, and it's just, at what point do you say that it's just not making the progress that it should be?
Well, did you know that Solskjaer has a better record in his first 100 than Klopp did?
Klopp was going somewhere, and if you're gonna be
Klopp had already won the Bundesliga before he came to Liverpool, so he had pedigree. What does Solskjaer have?
But it doesn't matter.
Relegating Cardiff.
He's doesn't matter.
what I would say is he doesn't, like, if you forget what Klopp done in his first 100 and things like that. You have to take each club individually.
Yeah.
I don't think Ollie has taken United very far from what he's had. I don't think he's taken them very far, and he should be a lot higher up and a lot more progress than where they are right now.
For me, right now, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
Shabs, I would say you should be at the stage with Ollie. You should be at the stage where you're cutting the gap between yourselves and Liverpool and City. Because what was it, 33, 35 points difference last season? And compared to prior season, it's increased. So that's what I was saying. You should be looking to cutting that gap. But it seems, I suppose we can't be too harsh on him. Oh no, that was his first full season last season, wasn't it? But yeah, and it doesn't seem like there is that progress.
Yeah, but you can't put it all on Ollie. I mean, there's failures above him that have hampered him as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
with
think
that, to be
when you
honest,
talk
I
about
do understand quite rightly well what the failings above can impact on the pitch. Sorry, John.
No, I was just going to say, like, obviously, we're talking about pedigree as a manager, but you look at you look at the previous managers we've had before Ollie, Louis Van Gaal and Jose Mourinho, they've got as good a CV as managers as you're going to have. And
That's
it
true.
didn't work for them either. So surely this is pointing to an issue it's not just a managerial problem. Like, there's something wrong in the club, and
This
recruitment's not been good enough recently.
I was about to
And
ask
like,
you, you and
yeah,
Nabi this. Do you think it's time you gotta because I remember I asked you this in the group chat, that you got a footballing director, like someone who's got the link upstairs, but also knows what the team needs on the field. Because at the moment, you saw even some of the pundits on Sky questioning the Van de Beek. I know, Nabi, you have your views on it. Corin came on as well, and he didn't fully understand the purchase of him. But yeah, in that sense, you need to spend, but it almost seems like they're just buying names rather than buying what you need. Starting with you, John.
Well, we've got nothing else to lose now. Why wouldn't we try it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's plainly clear that there's been a problem with getting personnel in for 3-4 years and getting people that fit in with what we need. I think for a while when Ollie came in, I think there was a bit of a feeling that we started to go more towards what people call a Man United kind of way, where we brought in Harry Maguire, a young English centre back, Wan-Bissaka, a young right back, a few other young players, bringing through Greenwood. Like, we started to go towards that, but it's obvious that it's not giving us the quality that we need to challenge for a title, which is what we should be doing year in, year out, because of the size of the club that we are. So something's not working. And I don't see why having a director of football, as I say, what we've got to lose. Why wouldn't we try it and see what happens? Edwin van der Sar's been talked about, and he loves the club. He's a legend at the club. He's done well at Ajax, with
And
the
he was
role he's had
instrumental in
there.
bringing
So
Van de Beek as well, wasn't he?
yeah, I think so. I remember he posted something at the time to say, like, you've got a great player, look after him and all that kind of stuff when we bought him. But
He's looking after him
yeah,
well, isn't he, Ollie?
yeah. I mentioned it last year. I don't know what when you spend £40 million on a player and you're keeping him as a backup option, which is what it looks like, or a squad rotation option. It's just that's a big call. I mean, for example, a great comparison is Jota at Liverpool, which we talked about. He was 40 odd million, but he's come in, as much as he's not been in the starting 11 yet. He's shown in the glimpses that he's came on in games. He's changed games for Liverpool. He's won games. He won the game for you the weekend.
Yeah.
Last 2 weekends.
Exactly. So yeah, it's. I just think a change needs to be made. I don't want to see Ollie sacked. I know that might be that's maybe a controversial opinion, but I don't see what that achieves. I still think we're in the same position as what we would have been.
But don't you think while Pochettino's just waiting in the wings, that it just seems like the perfect opportunity, doesn't it? Or am I wrong?
It does, but we've been in that position before when Mourinho came in. Everyone thought, oh, he's going to get us winning titles, blah blah blah. Yeah, we won Europa League and stuff, but it quickly soured, and that's a manager who's been talked about recently as one of the greatest managers in the world. I don't know what the answer is, if I'm honest. I don't know.
Before you chime in, then Abby, yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. I guess I would have, looking back at the weekend, talking about Van de Beek, is what I've seen him so far. He's a player who moves the ball really quickly. In the sense, you pass to him, if he knows that there's someone behind him, open his leg, he'll let it run through, he'll flick around the corner, that kind of thing. And I kind of felt this game, United needed a little bit of that. Someone that was sort of just keeping the ball moving really quickly. Because obviously the slow and lumbersome allowed us to sort of get into our position, set, and then just wait. Yeah, Nabi, sorry, on the previous question.
Well, I was just going to, obviously Pochettino would be nice, but I don't think Ollie. I think there's an overreaction to say that Ollie needs to be sacked because they have beaten a PSG side with Neymar and Mbappe. They have beaten a Leipzig side who were top of the Bundesliga at the time. Don't know if they still are or not. So they obviously are. They have a good team in them. They just need to find the consistency. So it's not like they're playing terribly all the time. And there's obviously been a marked improvement since the Tottenham game, since he has changed the system. And I think it's 4 or 5 games. They've only conceded 2 goals or 3 goals since then. 3 goals, a penalty, an OG. No, a penalty and 2 OGs. That's all they've conceded.
Still goals, and goals win you and lose you games. Would you say? Because for me, I guess if I sort of take my Arsenal hat off, I would say
Well, it'll take you a while.
I'll be. Don't worry, I'm not like you. I don't have that much hate for United as much as you do for Arsenal. Mine is directed towards
I'm just saying,
you
your
know who.
Arsenal hat, you're gonna take a while.
I think I missed that.
Just gonna
John,
say.
yeah. Sorry, just going back to the point that I'm losing my trail of thought. Thanks, Nabi. that you were saying it was something to do with something that John said. Yeah, sorry. That if I was to take my Arsenal hat off, I kind of agree with John in the sense that I don't think the solution is getting rid of Ole because, like we said, like John's given a perfect example. You've got managers in Van Dijk, Mourinho, and what was the Dutch guy's name?
Van Gaal.
Van
Van Gaal.
Gaal.
I was gonna say Van der Sar, and Van Gaal, who, especially in Mourinho, I don't know if you can get a better CV as a manager than Mourinho. He came in, didn't get the players he wanted. Van Gaal, similar situation, or it's either he didn't get the players he wanted, or the players that he wanted, he would get like one out of say 3 or 4. So if you were to bring Poch in and there's no change upstairs, it will literally just be the same thing again. You know, he may
That
improve a
would be the
little bit
worry,
with the
yeah.
players. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that would be the worry.
Yeah.
And if you look at what happened with him at Tottenham as well,
Yeah. Exactly. I was gonna go into that.
they
Yeah.
got stale because they didn't help him with the recruitment.
Yeah.
And the squad got stale, and then that
Money,
ended
don't
up.
they?
That's why he lost his job.
United are much bigger than Tottenham. They will throw the money out there. Yes, they didn't go for Sancho, but we're
But
talking
the
120
issue isn't
million.
the issue isn't
Tottenham wouldn't spend like 20 million sometimes on players
I would say
and
the issue isn't
give them
throwing
the.
money at it. The issue is that's why I'm sort of asking about the director of football. The issue is identifying the players that the team needs and getting those players, not just throwing money at it and say, "Oh, hopefully this will fit." You need someone that will help the manager, but that also has a link upstairs to be like, "Okay, cool. This is what's going on the pitch. I've spoken to Ole. This is the type of system that he wants to go for. This is the type of football that he wants to play. These are the type of players that we need. We need to get rid of these players that we currently have, get them out and get these in, and then back the manager in that sense." Whereas I kind of feel at the moment with Ed Woodward, like we've said before, he seems like the really, really good commercial guy, kind of like Gazidis and the Kroenkes. Loved him because in terms of the commercial revenue, everything, it was really, really good. But then when you look at what's happening on the pitch, that's where you start to see, right, it's not marrying up, it's not making sense. So I guess I'm not sure if you got to it, and I'd be like, do you think not fixes it, but do you think keeping Ole and getting a director of football helps United's situation?
Yes, definitely getting the Dauphin that will work well with Ollie definitely would help the situation, or should help the situation. But
What
obviously,
I would say is, if you got a Doff to fix that part of the issue, wouldn't then you want Poch at that point? Because
no, why?
Poch is a better manager than Oli. He's clearly a better manager than Oli.
But
So
one thing I would say with Poch, we
if
need
you
to
fix the issue
remember,
upstairs,
he's had players that he's wanted more or less for a period at Tottenham, to get them where they were, but then to take the next step, that's when they weren't backing him. So whereas I kind of feel with Ole, he hasn't had a full team where he's like, okay, cool, I'm really happy with this team. To
But you
sort of
can't say he's had no backing.
no, yeah, I'm not
I just
saying
want
that, but that's the point I'm saying. Throwing money at it isn't solving the issue. It's the type of players you buy, not just
I
buying
was never
players.
mentioning the money.
Sorry,
I never mentioned the money.
but the
I
backing.
just
What
mentioned
kind
if
of
you get
backing
the
are you talking about then?
No, I'm saying if the DOF gets sorted, so you obviously got the money, the players, all that kind of issue sorted at the top. So we're not purely money. I'm on about getting the right players in, the right recruitment, so you get the director of football. Wouldn't Poch do a lot more with it than Ollie would? I know we can't completely judge Ollie because United haven't got a DOF, but I feel like at that point to lose out on Poch would be a big mistake. I'm happy with that mistake,
Yeah, I'll let the
but I
two
think it's a
United
big
player.
mistake to lose out
I'll
on
let the two
Poch if you
United
get the board
fans chime
sorted.
in here.
I just wonder. I think when I think back to Mourinho, I think part of his downfall was that he started to question the backing of the board. I remember he had a press conference and he went off on one about not signing a defender, and it kind of was downhill from there. I just wonder if some of the reason why Ollie is in there, I just wonder how much influence he has on the actual signings that we're making, because I feel like you'll never ever hear Ollie come out and do something like that Mourinho did in terms of questioning backing and stuff like that, or even having a go at like his players to a certain degree. And he's maybe been thought of as an easy appointment in that he's not going to be a dissenting voice,
He's
and
a
Like a
yes
yes
man,
man.
isn't he?
the board,
Yeah.
yeah, to a degree, and the board can do what they want. He's just happy to be in the position. He'll deal with the situation that he's given without much pushback, and that's probably a position that the board like to be in. The problem that you get when you bring in a higher profile manager is that there's going to be more pushback, and they'll want more control over what happens in the football club.
Yeah, and I do.
Yeah, you can call him.
Sorry, Nabi, on you go.
I was just going to say I was going to say you can call him a yes man, but I think the other side of that is he's not going to create a division, which is then going to work its way into the squad, which is what it did with Mourinho.
Yeah,
But Mourinho was right. He did need new defenders.
no, it was, but I guess speaking from experience, with Wenger, we had the similar issue where Wenger took a lot of stick for the board, and I think it was simply because of how much he loved the club. And I think that's the same thing now with Ole, that he loves the club so much that he may want to say something about the board, but he can't bring himself to criticize the board out publicly. He has to portray that, we're a happy camp, everything is fine kind of image, even though he may not be happy with the current squad that he has, or may not be happy the fact that he didn't get Sancho in the summer. But due to the fact,
No, he won't, because
yeah,
he won't, because he knows that he'll never get as big a job as this again.
yeah.
If and when he leaves Man
He
United,
won't. Yeah, he
he will
won't.
never ever get another top elite club job, guaranteed.
Because he's not good enough.
That is a very, very
When
interesting.
Poch left Tottenham, no one's saying he can't get another big
No,
job
you
again.
had
Everyone's touting
Real
him for Madrid and
Madrid.
stuff like that.
Yeah, it was Real
Exactly.
Madrid,
But Ollie,
Barcelona, Bayern Munich.
everyone you talk to about Ollie, they're saying this is his limit. He's got United. This is his dream. He'll never get this again.
That's
So
because he's
it
got the
shows
link
what
with
everyone's.
United. He doesn't have the link with anyone else. And Poch is
That's
just
not
coming in fresh.
No, Ollie could go if he was good enough. You tout him for German leagues. You tout him for the big clubs in Spain.
Yeah.
He's not good enough.
Yeah, but he's
And
not being
hence why
touted because he's still in a job.
No, but I feel like you're a bit deluded about
Yeah,
what Ollie can really do.
in terms of, if you look at it, there'll be odds on Poch taking the United job, right? But there won't be odds on Ollie taking any other job. But because you may say, oh, he's still in a job at the moment, the odds on Poch are for a job that is occupied. So the fact that those odds are there suggests to people that the guy who's currently in the role is not good enough.
But this isn't new. Poch has been linked with the job even when Mourinho was there.
Also, Poch would be linked with any job that comes available.
Yeah.
Because of how good he is, he'll be one of the favourites going into a lot of jobs. The moment a vacancy or like a threat of a manager sacking comes up, Poch would go right on top of every list.
Yeah, Poch is linked with
No
the
matter
Arsenal
what club
job as
it
well.
is. Yeah, because he's great, and
because of how
you'd
good he is,
assume in
and I would have
natural
taken him at
because
Arsenal.
of how good he is.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I would. But then
So
if
whereas
let's
Ollie
say
wouldn't go into these lists.
if Emery got fired today and Ole got fired today, I'm not even looking in Ole's direction. Not even. Whereas the moment when Poch
Say
got fired
PSG.
and then Emery got fired, I was like, please Arsenal, please get Poch, please, you know. But yeah, I guess that's probably the best measure right now is ask, I guess, a City fan or, well, in this case, an Arsenal fan, because you hate Arsenal more than City, Adam. If they were to lose uh, Pep, would they be happy taking Ole? They would laugh at you right now
Because
because
that's not that's a
no,
flawed link.
the point that I'm trying to make is
I think John's
one is
point was perfect
desirable.
when John said this is Ollie's moment, this is his big club, he will never get anything like
Yeah,
this ever again.
yeah,
I think it says it all. I think basically summarised the whole point. You never thought that about Poch. When Poch was under threat about Tottenham, you never thought, oh, this was it for him. Once Spurs let him go, that's him done. You're thinking, actually, where's he going to go next? Maybe
yeah.
Real Madrid, maybe Barcelona,
Because remember,
maybe one of the big
This
clubs
is
in
a
Germany.
Pochettino's had a much longer career. He actually at Espanyol he actually did really well. Then Southampton, then Tottenham.
isn't
Much
Ole
longer.
into double
You do
figures in
career
realise
terms of
break.
his
Ollie's been in
years?
management for 10 years.
Yeah, Ole's into double figures in terms of his management as well. So
Yeah,
he's
but a
no
lot of that was at
Arteta.
Mold. He did really well at Mold or Molde.
Exactly, that's the point. That's his level.
You can't even pronounce their name, Adam. Come on.
It's Mulder, I think. But
Yeah. You have to
yeah,
admit a little bit here.
Ollie's
Like
been in
I
management
I
for
know
10
you
years.
I know you're trying to stand up for him. I know you're trying to back your club, but there are times where
You're
you
just
kind of
trying
have
to
to.
bash him, though.
No. Like this is like if I really wanted to bash it, I would be saying some ridiculous. This is me just trying to be reasonable in the sense like I completely understand what John is saying in the sense like this is the biggest gig Ole will get. If he leaves United, there's not going to be a line of clubs waiting for him to be like, oh, can you
There'll be
please?
a Huddersfield or a Bournemouth or
Yeah,
something like that waiting for him. That's what
but
there will be.
no top six team will be looking at Ole saying, oh, you're the right man to take us forward.
Look at the biggest managers that we talk about in the world. How many of them have done 10 years and not been at the top? You're talking about Ollie's like not done his way and he's done Mulder and stuff. Mourinho came in at Porto, did amazing things.
Yeah.
Guardiola came in. Obviously, Barcelona was unreal, but he absolutely killed it. Klopp came in at Mainz, which isn't the biggest of clubs, but he skyrocketed because what he did for them, took them up, promoted to the Bundesliga, and then he got to Dortmund and then smashed it with them. Went up against the German Galacticos, as you can call them, in Bayern Munich, and took a double in the German Bundesliga, and then came to Liverpool and look what he's doing at Liverpool.
And then
These
Arteta
managers
also came in when
Klopp hasn't had huge amounts.
you were talking about great managers and you missed out one there. How dare you?
Yeah, Arteta's already got through, but do you know what I mean? Like Klopp's
Yeah, no,
Klopp's
I
not
get what you
done
mean.
like Klopp hasn't
Yeah,
done
what
20 years of management. Klopp's not done much more than Ollie probably. But yeah,
one
look
one
where their levels are at.
one thing I would say to defend them in a sense is a question for you guys, right? We finished top four last year. We got to the Europa League final. With our squad of players as it is now, do you think any manager in the world could get us close to winning the league title or close to winning a Champions League?
Shabs, you can take that one first.
Another manager would do more with that team and at least improve the style of play, improve a lot more of the players. I just feel like it looks a lot of the time it looks a bit clueless out there, and I don't feel like I see progression. I don't know. Obviously, you're United fans, you see every game, but like Naby was talking about how Klopp's first 100 games was worse record than Ollie's, but every year you saw progression. Every single year you knew what was happening. You knew where it was going. I don't personally see that with Ollie at all. And it's not always about the results. It's about what performances you're seeing on the pitch. And I just feel like it's just always going round in circles with Ollie. There's no like you're not looking like you're ever gonna make it to a title fight. It just doesn't look like it at all. It just looks like top 4, maybe drop down a little bit, and then back to a bit of top 4, and then drop down a little bit, and it's just going to go around like that. That's what it looks like.
And to add to that,
Whereas I feel like another manager might get to top 4 and use that as an opportunity to then push to a title challenge. Whereas,
And-
But
Ole's
to
not
push,
doing
you have
that.
to be given the backing.
and to add to that, sorry, I guess with me, I keep on referencing because I've mentioned before that the similarities are there. Arteta came into an absolutely bomb scare of a squad. Arsenal's worse than United's last season. Stabilized us, right? Stopped the free fall. So in that sense, you can get a manager's fresh new ideas, that can affect a change with the same group of players. Because with Emery, it literally had come down to, you could see he was clueless, no one was listening, he had no idea. But Arteta came in, this is what I want, blah, 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 blah. Since he's come in, we've had one of the best defensive records in the league. Whereas before that, talking about Arsenal and defending, you would just start laughing. So this is something that can be done by bringing someone in. But yeah, I do go back to my prior point that I would probably want to see, if I was a United fan, would want to see Doff come in first, see how Ole performs under the Doff, and then if again it's still not great, then move on from there, because you could bring in the Doff, sack Ole, and then you're going through another whole rebuild again. So yeah, I don't know.
I got a question for you guys, the United fans. Do you see an identity with United?
Oh, that's a beautiful one.
Yes.
You do? Like, in terms of style of play and everything, do you see a proper identity in the way Liverpool have one, in the way City have one, in the way Arsenal have one going forward now? Even Chelsea have one to a point, even though
It's
they
Arsenal's
changed it.
identity to not score.
You're diverting the question by attacking, so it shows a little bit of insecurity there.
No.
Answer the
he
question,
said
because you
Arsenal
just
got an
said
identity.
you just said
I
yes. You
said
didn't
answer the
elaborate.
question. Answer this question.
But how? What's
Listen,
if you ask me now, I can tell you Arsenal's type of play. I can tell you about our 5 lanes of defense, our 5 lanes of attack, 2-3-5 in terms of attack, and the way we build up from the back. I can go into detail if you want me to. Now, let's hear about United.
No, because I'm not going to bore everyone like you would.
No. We want to hear United. John, since Nabi clearly admitting that there's no plan at United, do you see
Not
one?
what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying I'm not going to bore everyone like you would.
John, do you see an identity with the pitch performances and the progression in the club?
I think we are better when teams look to play against us. So when there's space, our players are at their best, and that they can exploit that. But any team that sets up with any kind of defensive shape, know what they want to do. We've shown this for the last 2-3 years that we should really struggle in those kind of games. And that's probably why we've done better in Europe than we have to a certain degree in the league. And we've struggled to pick up points against probably the lesser teams that have to rely on what they do in terms of setup, because we don't have an answer to that. And I don't think Ollie's managed to figure that out. Mourinho didn't manage to figure that out. So it's been one that we've struggled with for a while. So I know your question was what's our identity. I think you've seen it in some of the performances against PSG and Leipzig, that we do have the ability to hurt teams, but it's only in certain types of games that happens.
So for
Arsenal
me,
game not being one of them.
it sounds like a fancy way of saying we're a counter-attacking team. Because essentially, if you look at the teams that look to hurt you generally, that especially Ollie, the ones that he did well against last season, were the teams that play assertive football. City came and said, okay, we'll have the ball, you sit back, and then your front line just essentially laughed at them and saying, no, you won't. And you just exploited the space in behind City, because that's the fact, they leave so much space in behind as well. Liverpool, that's a different beast, to be fair. PSG, similar thing. Didn't watch the Leipzig game, so I'm not too sure, to be honest.
So it was a similar thing.
Was it?
Leipzig when they did get a bit crazy at the end. Once it was 2-0, I think Leipzig just lost the plot. But because it wasn't a 5-0 game, like in terms of scoreline, that performance wasn't a 5-0 performance.
Mm.
But Leipzig lost the plot at the end.
Yeah.
But they were an attacking side.
Yeah.
So yeah, both PSG and RB Leipzig went
But
at United.
to be fair
and it
with
worked
that,
perfectly.
not that saying that there's anything wrong with that, because that's essentially, I guess, all they're realizing, like, we need to play to our strengths, really. But I guess now the issue is you have that player in Bruno Fernandes who can find the pass.
Yeah, it's just the player behind. It's the players behind him. He needs to sort for those kind of games.
But there's another thing. One more thing I would say is that when Klopp came in, his squad was a lot worse than what United have right now, and yet he put his style in place. And if it meant having 5-4s and 4-3s and stuff, he went with it and he kept going at it every single game. He just went with his gegenpress, his perfect style of play. We had players like Moreno at left back, who's awful, and he just went with it. United, I just don't see the identity in them. I don't see, and I know like, oh, the squad's not good enough to be the enforcer and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, RB Leipzig, you wouldn't say it's an unbelievable team, but whoever they play, they try and enforce their style of play. They're not going to go, oh, we're up against Barcelona, we're going to sit back this game. They go at it. Atlanta, everyone, the way Atlanta play, they're a big
Atalanta,
scoring
not
side.
Atlanta. This is not America.
Atalanta.
Yeah, it's not the States.
Atalanta,
Yeah.
sorry, Atalanta, they also, no matter who they're playing, they'll go for it. They have their style, they go for it. Dortmund, what they've always been known for, they would always go for it no matter what. And then they'll slowly, so like Liverpool, we went for it. We realised our attack slowly built up to one of the best attacks. But you could tell from having scorelines like 4-3, our defences were pretty bad. So we fixed that part. I just don't think United are going anywhere at the
Have we not
moment.
got a viewer question that we need to get to? Or listener
Yeah.
question? I mean.
Yeah, that was sent to you, Nabi.
Yes, I'll just get what exact wording of the question was. The question was, who is the most important signing for their club out of Thiago, Partey, and Fernandes?
Party.
So obviously it's hard to say at the moment because of all our different times. But I think you can argue against that. Look, at the moment right now, it's Fernandes because of the time he's been and the impact he's had. Thiago's only had a couple of games, same as Partey for their club. At the moment, it's Fernandes, but I guess the question is overall.
For me,
Caveats to this question.
it's a difficult. I would say it will be one of those where we kind of need a full season from all three players underneath them to really have a clear picture. But
I guess everyone give their answer and their reason quickly.
for
I'd
me,
say.
Partey, obviously, just quickly read something to you from the United game. Honestly, I'll be less than a minute. Partey's game by numbers against Manchester United: 100% take-ons completed, 100% aerial duels won, 93% accuracy, 79 touches in total, 11 ball recoveries, 10 duels won, 4 tackles, 3 take-ons completed, 2 interceptions, 2 fouls, 1 clearance. For me, we hadn't won at United, Nabi, since you and I started at Royal High School. Was at 13 years old, and this is, I would say, largely due to Thomas Partey's performance in the midfield. It helped us get that win at Old Trafford. That's my case.
Fair enough. John?
I think you have to say Fernandes right now because it was clear how much of an impact he had on the team, not just with his performances, but his mentality as well. He looks like a winner and he hates losing. And we've not really had anyone like that in our team since you go back to our title winning days when you got the likes of Keane and guys like that. So he's been massive for us. I agree, Partey looked brilliant against us, but I still think for Arsenal, you need to sort out your creativity going forward. I don't see him as a solution to that. I think he's brilliant in the middle of the park, but you still need to find a way of scoring more goals. I
I,
don't think he's the guy to do that.
one thing he does
Um,
allow us to do. Sorry, I'm so sorry to kind of is we now it's like, okay, this game we did what Liverpool did before they started playing football. They created their chances by forcing the other team into mistakes. They press you into mistakes. So though we may not have a lot of clear cut chances, this could be one way that Arteta could short term look to counter that currently. But I do agree with you. He's not a creator at all.
and Thiago, yeah, it's too soon. And he's going into a team that's winners anyway. So, like,
That's
he's
what I would
there.
say about Thiago. He's coming into a team of champions, so any other team, you could say he's the big signing. But when he's coming into a team who's currently champions, that's where it's unfair on Thiago in that part, I think.
So is your answer Thiago or not Thiago?
It's not just because of the fact that we're champions. He's not going to have the same sort of impact that those two would have.
So who's your answer?
We're finishing John's answer.
I'm finished.
Oh, so my answer at the moment is Fernandes, because I feel like when he came in, he's literally purely the reason United finished in the top four, to our top three. I don't think it was Oli. Like, I know Oli deserves some of the credit for it, but it was purely the signing of Fernandes. Partey could possibly be that same level of impact, but I can't say because he's obviously only had a couple of games,
3 games,
or
yeah.
one full game, or whatever it is, 3 games. So
True.
Partey has the possibility to be that kind of importance as Fernandes, but Fernandes has shown it over a long period of time at the moment. Thiago, the only reason he loses out is not because of the talent he is, just because of the fact that he's coming into a team where they're unbelievable anyways.
And
So
the only reason Partey loses out is because he's not been here since January.
yeah, but you got to admit, all three are very, very, very good talents. So
Yeah,
that's all we can agree on that. But all three are world-class players.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Fernandes still hasn't lost an away game yet.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying all three are world-class players.
Oh
It's down
no,
to things
that
like
was
timing
January.
and stuff.
Oh, that was just before he came.
In the
Because I
end,
was
there's
gonna say
things like
we played you and we beat you 2-0 at the Emirates, but that was because. But I think that kind of ties into what John was saying as well. Generally, the home teams tend to want to be more assertive against you, so that then plays into your strengths, leaving space in and around for your players to exploit. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with that. He fits the system perfectly.
Well, look at our home record. Look at our home record so far this year. We've not won a game yet in the league.
Yeah.
In the league, yeah. But Champions League is a completely different concept.
Yeah, but
still, I don't think this Champions League should that should just be swatted away. I mean, it was a game.
No, but in terms of Champions League sides, or they all have the arrogance to push, so United can play on the counter. Whereas the Premier League team will always sit back on United. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's just all they have to figure out. It's not like they are also getting beat by the team that are counter-attacking them as well. Even the really good counter-attacking, or the really good teams that are pressing on them, they're able to counter-attack them. So they just need to figure out how to get through.
I'm not swatting it away, but I'm not also saying it's unbelievable either.
I guess we could use Leicester's, not Leicester, Crystal Palace. They're a really good counter-attacking team, and unless I'm missing the point here, did nothing.
No, but yeah, but that was first game of the season. They weren't at it, all of that.
So yeah, yours is Fernandes, right, Naby?
Yeah.
No, but we've been through all this.
Yeah.
But is yours Fernandes, Naby? Purely because of the time he's had to actually show what impact he can make.
Yes, I mean, I think it has to be.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't disagree.
We could do this again at the end of the season, but the question is asked now, and the answer has to be Fernandes.
Yeah.
Can't disagree, but anyway, John, thank you for joining us. I think next time we play you guys at the Emirates, I'm going to have you back on again. You seem to be somewhat of a lucky charm for me, so thank you for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Cheers. Yeah,
cheers.
I'm hoping it's going to be a different story when we're away from home.
Wow. Could play into your hands. Never know. I never know. But
a draw would be nice.
Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll put our socials into the description, so please make sure you follow, you like, and you interact. Thank you very much. Tonana.